Sweet. All right, so we're going to continue on with our Wi-Fi Vidcast with myself and Bryan here. And we're going to talk a little bit about troubleshooting this week. And in respect to the cloud, like how does the cloud help you to troubleshoot wireless network problems? So there's a lot. We'll talk about the Ingenious Cloud, since we both have it in front of us here. And there's a lot of tools built in that will help you if you're having problems with your network. You're not sure what's going on. The cloud's your friend, right, Bryan?
What was that in here, sir?
So if you're having problems with your Wi-Fi network, like it sounds like you are right now, then there's a lot of tools in the cloud that can help you troubleshoot.
Yeah, there's you can troubleshoot access points, switches, client devices. So there's a lot of tools built in to troubleshoot
Even
a number of different cases, even roaming. I guess one of the recent ones that we came up across was switches and cables.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we can talk about that quickly. Like, I had a customer call in and say, they just bought these new Wi-Fi 6 access points, and they have, they have a fast internet connection. It's a gigabit per second. They set these things up, and they're only getting 100 meg, right? So they wanted to know what was wrong, So instead of like guessing at a million different things that could possibly be wrong, I just went in. He granted me access to his cloud dashboard. I went in there and looked at it, and I could see that the switch port that was linked to his router was linked at 100 meg and not a gigabit. So yeah. I could tell him right there that I could see that all the access points he had were linked at 2.5 gig, but the router was only linked at 100 meg. So right there, I'm like, oh, the cable to your router is not good. You have to check that. And that turns out that's what the problem was.
Yeah, I ran into the same situation, but everything was connected properly except for the one access point, which was it was on a Cat 5 cable.
Yeah, there you go.
So he was linked at 100 megabits. Yeah, because it was the way to know that, well, the sign, right, is, hey, I can't get over 100 megabits per second.
Right.
It's normally
right.
Is normally the case. But yeah, in this particular person's case, he had somebody else run the cable. So just looking at the interface on the cloud, you can see that each of the ports have they're different colors or different speeds. And if it's orange, right away they're at 100 megabits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have, there's a color for 100, color for a gig, a color for 2.5 gig, a color for 10 gig. You can see that pretty quickly.
And you can also see from looking on the front of the switch with the way the link lights are on that too. But yeah, so I mean that's one advantage of the cloud right there for troubleshooting. Another is there's a lot of AI built into these cloud systems, along with the analytics that they basically inspect the packets and see what kind of traffic's going through, right, Bryan? Like, so if you're looking at, say, the Ingenious Cloud dashboard, you can see like the top access points, top clients, top SSIDs, and then you can see by application what are your biggest applications, right? So you can see how much Skype you're using, SIP calls, things like that.
Yeah, the one that I use the most from the dashboard, which is not really AI, right? But it's how many client devices are on 2.4 and how many clients are on 5 gigahertz.
Yep.
Right there, I can pretty much tell if the APs are placed properly or if they have enough APs. I can really determine that pretty quickly when I look at it. So if somebody invites me into their network, the first thing I see is, 80% of their clients on 2.4 and only 20% are on 5 gigahertz. Then and they're talking about speed. Speed's a problem. You can already kind of start to think about hey, is the AP, to yourself, is the AP placement correct? Do they have them spread out? Do they have enough APs? Unless they have a lot of IoT devices, then that shouldn't be the case because you're typically designing around 5 gigahertz, and you want everybody pretty much on 5 gigahertz minus like IoT devices.
Right.
So that's a tool that I use a lot. I find myself using a lot because that's the first thing you see when you go into the cloud interface is the dashboard.
Right. Because customers will report, oh, we have slow speeds, but it's probably because they don't have enough access points, right? They're spacing them out too far, and then the clients are roaming on the 2.4 gigahertz radio, and you can see that by looking in the dashboard. Whereas if they had them a little bit closer together, the clients would be band steered to the 5 gigahertz. In most cases, they're going to prefer it, and we'll see everybody on the 5 except for the IoT devices. So yeah, that's another good thing. But the types of traffic too, like you can see, like if your network is if your network's like using a lot of certain protocols that could be clogging it up. Maybe you want to set up a separate network or SSID for that. You can do all kinds of things with the analytics built into the dashboards now.
Yeah.
So another way of troubleshooting would be like with a remote syslog. So I enabled this on the Ingenious Cloud, and I'll put that image up now. Let's see. So can you see that? Oh, Brian can't see that. He's not looking at the stream right now. But anyway, I put up the a picture of the remote syslog. You can see here. I turn this on, and it'll basically log what's happening on the cloud access points and switches to a remote server, which I have a Synology disk station here that's running syslog, and I'm able to capture all that traffic. So I'm looking at the screenshot now, and it basically shows clients trying to connect. It gives the MAC address, the identity, and then that I failed. I put the wrong password in. So you can look in that syslog. You can maybe roll this whole thing up into your own network management system if you have your own NOC maybe, and you want to use the cloud as like your main portal, but then you want to maybe get some more detailed information. Also on switches, if like a switch port goes down, I have an example of that in there. I pulled the cable out. You can see PoE powers off, the switch port's down, then you see the link status go back up. So the remote syslog is a great tool too, and you can easily enable that in the cloud. You have to do it both switch and access point though, right, Brian?
Yeah, sorry. I was breaking up there for a little bit.
No, it's okay. So yeah, you have to. I was just saying, yeah.
I killed the video for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we lost you for a second.
Yeah. No, for syslogs you can do that. I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but for access points and switches. So
yep.
You can collect that information. So if you're trying to monitor like port statuses and things like that, like Jeff was saying, you can definitely send that information. And can you have that information kind of sent via email? I guess would be the question. I don't know if you mentioned that or not. Or
yeah. So I mean, you can do a lot with remote syslog. You can write a script that would like go through and email it, or text somebody if a certain condition happens. Usually it's something that you have to rule yourself because every business is different with what they want to look for. But and a lot of these alerts are available in the cloud also, but this is just in addition to that, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just another tool that you can use to get more data and be able to troubleshoot with that. All right, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was Spectrum Analyzer. So I just put up a screenshot of what the Wi-Fi looks like. So this is like my low-cost Spectrum Analyzer of choice. It's not that low cost. I put a link to it below, but it basically works on all platforms. It'll work on Mac, PC, iOS, and Android. So there's cables and adapters, and the software interface is the same. And this is something if you're having problems, if you're in a tight area where there's a lot of Wi-Fi networks around, Like you can see here, I think one of my neighbors has 0, and I see all these peaks on the 5 gigahertz. So I kind of have to move my access points around to find the best channel. This is the way to do it, so you can kind of see what you're dealing with in your environment.
That's something that we always suggest. So we have a site survey tool.
Yes.
Well, it's a predictive site survey tool, right? So where you can upload floor plans similar to kind of like Ekahau. Ekahau is very advanced, so not quite like Ekahau, but it gives you an idea of where AP placement should be.
Yeah.
But what we tell a lot of our system integrators, installers, that they do have to go to the site and check the environment out. And using a tool like that definitely helps. Or like the one you introduced me to is Wi-Fi, which is a free one that I use here. So that's a pretty good tool. But yeah,
but you need to see what's actually in the area. You need an actual spectrum analyzer piece of hardware. There are a lot of like free, tools like this Wi-Fi out there that will show Wi-Fi networks and what channel they're on, things like that. And that one's actually really good because that'll show like the channelization of the other access points, so you can see if they're on 2040, 80, 160, and see like where they are, and that helps a lot there. And that actually shows capabilities, that Wi-Fi tool. I'll put a link to that also. That one's hard. That one may be hard to get. I'll put a link to that. I'll put a link to the Wi-Fi also. And Bryan mentioned Ekahau. So that's a great tool. It's a more of a business class installer type tool that will do predictive site surveys and also has a spectrum analyzer piece. We'll talk on that on another video cast in detail. Maybe we can get Roger to come on. But yeah, that's a great tool for planning and also doing troubleshooting. But for most, I think this WinPry is in the price point that most people are doing lots of Wi-Fi installs should have this in their toolbox.
Yeah, the thing that we've been running into a lot is obviously remote access, right? The ability to recycle ports.
Yeah.
And so cloud gives you that ability to do that, and you can actually do that via the app or the cloud interface in itself. Not to jump around. I know you're just
no. I took it down. So yeah, we hit on that. So you're talking about the ability the ability to reboot access points with the cloud by turning the PoE power on and off on the port.
Yeah. So more importantly, surveillance cameras, because that's what we're running into a lot. Is how can I remotely reboot or check the status of a port on a switch that's connected to my surveillance camera. So we're starting to run into that more and more, and so there's multiple ways that we do it. I mean, you can do it via the app or you can do it through the cloud portal. But now we just made an update to the cloud where you can actually click on the port itself and reset the port, the power of the port, or you can go in and you can turn off data, you can turn off power for the port, and you can do that, like I said, via the app or for the cloud portal. So that's become a really important tool, especially when you can't go to the site. So it's all about really minimizing truck rolls for a lot of these surveillance camera companies or anybody that's installing security. This is having these types of switches and having that capability is key. The other piece to that is the alert system. Having the alert system, I know you talked about syslogs, but having an alert system built into kind of the cloud is helpful because you can actually have alerts emailed to you, or you can receive notifications through the app or through the cloud interface. So that's always been like a important piece for a lot of these individuals that are installing like surveillance, as an example.
Yeah, and when you're talking these guys that have the surveillance cameras or other devices on the switches that they want to be be able to reboot them, like if they're not responding, what have you. The topology view in the Ingenious Cloud is great. I'm gonna put up a screenshot of that. I'll put that up so you can see kind of what that looks like. But that uses LLDP and it shows like all the types of devices that are on. So it's really difficult to document what cameras on what switch port, right, and keep that current. Whereas this will automatically build that. You can see I have like quite a few IP cameras up. These are even older ones, some older Ingenious ones. And they're being detected by the switch ports, and I can tell, if I hover over one of these cameras, it'll tell me what port it's on, and I can easily reboot that switch port to restart that camera.
Yeah, so that's a tool that we use a lot.
Yeah.
Specifically for surveillance and the alerts. The alerts are used more than I thought they would be used, but the alerts are being used a lot as well. So.
Yeah, alerts can be, they can be good and bad. You can have so many that they're just ignored, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point, because we do get we do get technicians call us about, hey, I received a status like a link status change on a port, and that actually constantly happens. So it could be, you have to be careful with the type of information you're kind of collecting, because it could be misleading in some cases if you're working with somebody that it's not aware of that yet. So you do have to be careful with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the remote syslog comes in, I guess. They can kind of scrub the logs and see what events they're really interested in knowing about. Like if a port goes down for X amount of minutes or something like that. Do they have that kind of alerting in the cloud yet? Like if the port's down for 5 minutes? I know they're working on something like that, right?
Yeah, no, it's already there. It
Okay.
does give you like the port status, but that's the one you kind of have to be careful with, because it will tell you when the port status changes, which is often, which a lot of people don't realize, but it will also tell you if the port is down. So yeah, it's already in there, and you can actually, like I said, you can receive that via app, email, or through the cloud interface.
Nice. All right, so those are some ways of troubleshooting with the cloud, using the cloud analytics, remote syslog, spectrum analyzers, all that. If you guys have any questions, post them in the comments. We'll try to answer, and I'll put links to the Wi-Fi spectrum analyzer. You guys can check that out. All right, thanks. Remember to like and subscribe for more help with Wi-Fi.